Our next story, 2021 was the year of NFTs. Many experts predicted 2022 will be the year of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. 1 month in, and we've already got our first controversy, Wonderland DAO. Joining us now is Ian Lee, co-founder of Syndicate, a Web3 tool that helps people pool their capital to invest. Hi, Ian. Thanks for joining us. So we have serial scammer and convicted felon Michael Petrin, who has changed his name twice, co-founded a fraudulent crypto exchange, QuadrigaCX in Canada, was revealed to be the co-founder and treasurer of Wonderland DAO, a multi-billion-dollar crypto project. The community voted to kick him out, but less certain is whether the project will continue. The other co-founder, Danielle Sestigali, has made a lot of confusing statements on whether the project will continue or not, but that seems very characteristic of DAOs. A lot of people, a lot of opinions, and it can get messy. What's your impression?
Well, look, I don't know much about the Wonderland controversy beyond the headlines, but I think that, look, this is a part of the growing process for crypto in general and DAOs specifically. I mean, I don't think that this is particularly unique in many ways. I mean, I've been in the crypto space for almost a decade full time, and we've seen things like this happen occasionally. So look, I think that, this stuff happens, but the reality is that most of the builders and most of the projects in the space, I believe, are trying to do the right thing for people and these communities. And so this is a part of the maturation process. And I think that, we've seen this movie before, and the ecosystem will grow stronger as a result of it.
Well, what do the promise of DAOs hold, and how do you hope to tap into that with Syndicate, project you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the evolution of DAOs has gone through multiple phases, starting with the DAO in 2016. And then there was this phase, I would say, in the years after that, where people were looking at DAOs as sort of this generalized framework and technology. I think we're now entering into a third phase of DAOs where DAOs are going to be more application specific and in a way verticalized as opposed to more horizontal. And so I think that what is really interesting about DAO technology is that it is, unlike other crypto technologies, not only a financial technology, but also a social technology. So what we were looking at here is a technology that not only coordinates financial capital, but also human capital on the internet natively, seamlessly together. And the applications of that, in my opinion, are profound in the sense that it can not only revolutionize a number of different industries, including investing, like the one that we're focused on, but also a number of other areas, including the future of work and organizations and just generally lots of other spaces of the economy. So I think that DAOs are, it is going to be the year of DAOs. And I think that even the next few years it'll likely be one of the most important technologies to emerge from Web3 and crypto in general.
Ian, you said we've seen this movie play out before. What clues are you using to basically decide whether or not a DAO is structurally sound or unsound? I mean, what clues are you seeing in the marketplace or before investing that you think investors should look at and say, okay, this is a problem, a consistent problem that we've seen time and time again, such as this horrible scandal right now with time?
Well, one thing that I would offer is to suggest that actually there's a spectrum of decentralization with respect to DAOs. And the second thing that I would say is that there are different archetypes and types of DAOs. So not all DAOs are the same. And I think that what the world needs to start to understand, or the industry needs to start to better understand, is the different archetypes and types of DAOs and the different risk profiles associated with those, right? Because I think that in the same way that like people thought all cryptos were the same, or all blockchains are the same, or all NFTs are the same, the reality is that not all DAOs are the same. And one of the key axes that I think is important is the degree of decentralization and the degree of trustlessness. So, for example, there are DAOs that sort of position themselves as completely trustless and very decentralized. But behind the scenes, right, when you look at the actual operations and whatnot, they are actually more centralized than people think or expect. And that creates misalignment in terms of expectations, and obviously like a disconnect in terms of the perceived versus actual risk. There are other DAOs, though, on the opposite end of the spectrum, where there's actually a high degree of social trust. In particular, these are groups of friends oftentimes that are using DAO technology to mainly streamline efficiency of operations, right? So actually Syndicate sort of sits on that end of the spectrum, at least today, where most of the DAOs that are being utilized with our technology are primarily groups of friends that have known each other for many, many years, and they're using this technology to coordinate more efficiently together. And I think that has a very different risk profile, right? Because inherently everyone knows each other and they trust each other.
So how are you filtering? My understanding is that you're filtering based on whether or not somebody's, let's say, an accredited investor. How do you filter within what you do at Syndicate? Like, what kind of things are you putting in place that would keep not only certain people in, but certain people out who might, let's say, not be trustworthy?
Yeah, so for our particular space, right, the first tool that we've launched is this thing called Web3 investment clubs. And actually, investment clubs have existed for hundreds of years. They just existed in community centers or restaurants where people in their local town would get together and sort of share ideas about different investments, whether they're stocks or real estate or other things, and they would invest together as friends and as a community, right? Now that model which has existed legally for hundreds of years, hasn't been modernized for the internet, and certainly hasn't been modernized for Web3, where a lot of these new assets like tokens and NFTs and other things now live, right? So we basically took that model, turned that into a DAO, powered that with DAO technology, and made that native to Web3. And so what does that mean? Well, what this tool does is it allows virtually anyone to start a investing club as a DAO on Syndicate, on Ethereum, at least today, with their group of friends. And what's interesting about investment clubs, and this, you can read actually on the SEC's website, because they have a page dedicated to it, is that investment clubs can have non-accredited members. In fact, they can be completely self-organized, provided that they meet certain rules to maintain their status as an investment club. So what we've done is we've designed at all levels, at the protocol level, at the tool level, as well as even partnering and teaming up with various companies like Dula on the fintech side. And we've teamed up with Latham Watkins on the legal side to provide investment clubs with the appropriate legal tools to protect them, their members, and the DAO. Because we think that, honestly, for DAOs to go mainstream as a technology space, it's necessary. It's necessary for the tools to exist, but not sufficient, in the sense that, if these DAOs kind of don't, I guess, they end up breaking certain rules or either advertently or inadvertently, then that will impede DAO technology's ability to succeed long term. And so we want to do the right thing for them and their members.